Hello and welcome to another edition of Straight from the Training Ground. I'm Jay, here with my partner in crime, Rosmondo. Glad to have you with us.
Yeah, good to be here again.
So we're back again. Had a week off after the OVPL final right here on the podcast where, Ryan, we love to share our love for the beautiful game and the people out there doing beautiful things in their community, which we will get to here later with our special guest for this week. But before we get to that, you and I were there in person covering the OVPL final at Ohio Dominican University. Shout out to Ohio Dominican University for letting us use their facility for the OVPL final. But we broadcasted live, and we were there to watch the game. So, what are your thoughts?
Well, it was an interesting game. I mean, the first 10 minutes, between Valhalla and Ohio Premier, the first 10 minutes was back and forth, anybody's game, really wild open game. And then as the game settled on, OP started to possess the ball. Ohio Premier started to possess the ball a lot more. It just looked a lot more fluid in their attack now. Valhalla had some opportunities, but Valhalla, I think they were struggling a little bit with injuries going into the game. They only had two players on the bench. So the end result ultimately was OP 1-2-0. They also had a goal disallowed. So ultimately, I think they controlled the game, and it was a deserved victory for them, which was interesting because obviously they were in our section in the Valley Conference for the season, and it didn't go totally smoothly for them. They had some tough games going through the season. I think they had a draw and a loss maybe in the regular season. I have to check that. But they definitely came on strong towards the end of the season, and that's I guess that's the sign of a championship team, and they really deserve the win in the final. That's what I feel. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it was fair result, and both teams, it should be said, I think, had a difficult road in the semifinal. Valhalla won 1-0 in a close game, and then on the other side, OP, as you said, had a couple scrapes throughout the season, but they got to the semifinal and they won an away game, correct? On penalties, went to penalties.
Penalties,
And
yeah.
it was an away game, so a great result for them to pull through and get to the final. And then I would agree with you. You know what you said, yeah. First 10 minutes, I think, when we were watching the game, it looked like OP were kind of trying to settle in a little bit. Valhalla also, I think it should be mentioned, was the older team. They looked physically a little bit older, more experienced, but they had a few players missing through injury, and they had a thin roster, I think, with like 13 players maybe for the final.
Yeah.
And OP, with the younger guys, and but after they settled in, they played well altogether. I thought it was a fair result. Good game though. Good game for both. And again, it seems like we've said it throughout the entire season, each week, Ryan, that, and you know better than I do, dealing with the OVPL, in your schedule every week, the teams have just seemed much tighter, much more competitive from top to bottom. And it was even evident throughout the final and the semifinals.
Yeah, I mean, I think OP probably similar to actually our final last year. I think OP controlled the game just like Fort Wayne did last year against us. But Valhalla throughout the game also had one or two chances, so it was an interesting game. And I think what you're saying there is that you don't really do any scouting on the other teams in this
Yeah.
league, so it's kind of a bit of an unknown quantity when you go into these games. So it leads to back and forth encounters, and the final definitely was that. And I will say, it is good to have in the third edition of the summer season of OVPL. It is really good to have a Valley Conference champion
Oh,
and not a
yeah.
River Conference. So I just want to say that. Obviously, I'm biased there, but there you go. So congrats to
Yeah.
OP and a great.
Yeah. Well, no, I just meant, and throughout the season, it seems like a lot of the games, there's been a lot more competitive games, whereas last year there were some lopsided results, and it seems like from top to bottom. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. It has been a lot more competitive, especially on our side of the bracket in the Valley Conference for sure. But we'll tell you what was good was the final was competitive as well. So it's not like one conference is stronger than the other. I think it's very even all across the board.
Yeah, and it's looking good. There's some new teams this year, and hopefully it continues to grow. And I also want to give a shout out to Sporting Columbus women, who won the women's division at the same time. They were kind of finishing up in their last regular season game before the final for the men, and they won in a close game, so that clinched the title for them on the women's division. So congratulations to the Sporting Columbus women for their win. And also, Ryan, just a quick shout. I think it's been a great summer. Overall, I've had a chance to take in quite a few games this summer through the OVPL. but I think it's been a great. And I just want to give a shout out to all the people like you, the coaches that are out there. And I think a lot of times we forget to kind of mention and thank the college players, because a lot of these teams are made up of college players. And, as well as I do, Ryan, they have the opportunity to go home. They could relax. They could just kind of work out a little on their own, hang out by the pool with some of their friends. And they're all choosing to play on a competitive team like this, train 2-3 nights a week, go to away games, that sometimes are a couple hours away, and in an effort to make themselves better so that when they return to their college team here in another week or two, they'll be fit and they'll be ready to have a good season. So I just want to give them a shout out as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. I also think that, it's something that a lot of college players to start looking at as well. So the other side of the coin there is it's a great opportunity for college players, and, it's put there right in the plate now. Back in our day, there wasn't many leagues for people to play in the summer. For the OVPL provides a great opportunity for them players to keep working on the game, keep improving through the summer. So,
So now the 2024 transfer window's open. The Highlanders just putting that out there.
I don't know what you're talking about there, but
but anyway, so congrats to all of everybody that puts in a lot of work, like yourselves, the coaches, the players, team admins behind the scenes, making it possible throughout the summer. Great season for the OVPL. If you're not familiar, again, check them out. We'll leave a link down below for the Ohio Valley Premier League and what they're all about. And also just want to give a shout out to our next special guest this week, Ryan, something we're not very familiar with. And I'll be honest, as much as I've been around soccer in this country, really just became familiar with this about in the last year or so, when you and I became familiar with Street Soccer USA. And our special guest this week is the U.S. head coach for the Homeless World Cup team. And if you're out there and you don't know what that is, the Homeless World Cup has taken place every year since 2003, I believe. The first Homeless World Cup was in Austria, and it's held annually, so it's every year. And this past July here, a couple weeks ago, was the first time it was held here in the U.S. It was in Sacramento, and so a pretty awesome event. And again, we'll have some links down below to check them out. Street Soccer USA, very heavily involved in that. They've sent teams to that many times in the past. But we have their head coach, Reed Fox, on, which will be our special guest in an interview. And I don't want to give it all away, but Ronnie has some great insight into what takes place, what kind of players are involved. And, kind of to me, it's what this podcast, what you and I do is all about. You're trying to get the word out about people like him and what's really going on out there related to the game of soccer that a lot of people might not know about.
Yeah, I think it's a great interview, but it's great for people like him and what he's doing to the word to get out there. I think in the US sometimes soccer communities can be in sort of a bubble, especially a socio-economic bubble. But the rest of the places in the world and places in the US too, but not as much. But the rest of the world, it really is everybody's sport. There's people in poor communities play it. They play it for nothing. And it binds communities together. And it also helps individuals. It helps individuals get to where they need to go in their lives and just forget about some of the problems for a while. So with the application of what he's doing for the homeless community in a number of areas across the US, I just think there's nothing but good to come from it. So I hope people listen to the interview and listen to some of the great things that are happening there. And maybe we'll get people listening that can maybe, think about helping grow what they're doing into their own local area.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that being said, here's our next guest this week, our special guest, I should say, Reed Fox, the head coach of the U.S. national team for the Homeless World Cup. It was held again this year in Sacramento for the first time ever in the United States. Great event, and he'll tell you some more about the specifications and what goes into it. But there's teams from all over the world, Ryan, that come to it each year, and it's just really a very cool event based around the game of soccer. So with that, congrats again to everybody on a great summer throughout the OVPL season, and we'll be back with more each week. Until next time, straight from the training ground. And we're very glad to have our guest with us this week, Reed Fox, the U.S. men's coach and director of the U.S. teams in the Homeless World Cup, something that we're very excited to learn more about and hopefully get that out to people. Reed, thanks a lot for taking the time to join us.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here, guys. Thanks for covering this.
So, Reed, you were telling us off camera you've been a part of this for several years. How did you get involved?
Yeah, I actually started as an intern in high school almost 15 years ago. I'm from upstate New York, and I was introduced to Lawrence, who you guys met a couple weeks ago, and he's the founder of Street Soccer. And my dad used to drive me down to the homeless shelter in New York City. And I'm just middle class white kid from upstate New York, and never really been to a homeless shelter, never seen a lot of homeless people, and so I was like a little nervous and scared going in. But when I got there, the guys were grabbing my bags, getting the equipment, helping me get set up, and hugging and high-fiving. And I was just like, this is unbelievable. These are, just people like me, and they're athletes just like me. And so I was kind of hooked from the start and stayed involved in various capacities, helping them run tournaments and help coach their men's teams over the years and through college. And then after college, started working full time, and I've been with them full time almost 8 or 9 years now.
That's excellent. And Reed, can you tell us a little bit about the format, the tournament, obviously the Homeless World Cup, and give people viewing some understanding of what it is?
Yeah, so the Homeless World Cup's an international festival, and it takes place every year, and it's a celebration of the hard work that people are doing all over the world using soccer for social change. So these are individuals who are homeless, have been homeless in the last 2 years, are either in drug or alcohol rehab and have been homeless, or also are refugees and are seeking positive asylum status in whatever country they're currently in. So it's a really diverse mix of people, and there's over 40 countries that participate every year, and they come from all over the globe and are united by the beautiful game.
And that's really cool. You're involved kind of with both teams. Can you tell us a little bit about how the U.S. did? It just finished up within the last couple of days, correct?
Yeah, we just finished up on Saturday, and on the field we had our best year ever for both of our teams. Our women finished 5th, and our men finished 11th, which bested both of our previous highs. So we were really proud of that on the field, but off the field as well, which is more important to us. These players were having so much fun and making so many connections, and we heard from so many of them that it was the best week of their lives. And that's the beautiful part about the tournament. Of course, we're there to win and compete, and we want to do well, but having the impact off the field is really what we focus on.
And Reed, so your involvement, obviously, what you've highlighted there with the Homeless World Cup, which is an annual thing, right? But for the rest of the year, what is your involvement in this kind of operation?
Yeah, so Street Soccer USA, we're in 14 cities around the country, and we're running different degrees of programming for people in rehab facilities, refugees, people in homeless shelters, also low-income youth who are priced out of the club game, in low-income schools. And so it depends on our cities, who works with who, but here in Sacramento, we work with all those populations, and I'm the general manager here in Sacramento, sort of overseeing those programs and helping us grow. And so for the Homeless World Cup, our 14 program managers across the country nominate their players who they feel are most deserving to represent the U.S. And then Lawrence, myself, and Lawrence's brother Rob sort of select a team based on their achievements off the field mainly. So we're not taking necessarily our best soccer players, but we're taking our players who the program has meant the most to and are achieving their goals off the field.
So it's kind of like maybe some of your best ambassadors for what the program has done and can do, sort of thing.
Yeah, one of the sort of off-field curriculum programs we run during the Homeless World Cup for our team is called Ball, and Ball is an analogy, and the A in Ball is ambassador, actually. And so we discuss, what that means and what that looks like for our players.
It's fantastic.
Reed, what exactly is, so leading up to the World Cup beforehand here, what exactly is the format of play and then the age groups? How does that work?
Yeah, so it's for anybody 16 or older. And then you have to meet one of the requirements that I spelled out before.
Mm-hmm.
And then the format is very unique in this tournament because, again, it's it's about being competitive and playing to win, but it's also about fair play and having fun and making sure, teams are having a good experience. So you get grouped, similar to like the regular World Cup. You get pulled out of pots and they do a draw, and you get grouped with 7 or 8 teams. And those are of all different skill levels. And then the top teams in the group, after group play, all get grouped together and play for first place. The next tier get grouped together and play for 9th place. And so you end up playing teams that are around your skill level, and you still end up competing for a trophy. They call, the first place trophy the Homeless World Cup, but then they have different tiers that they give different names to. So everybody is still competing for something, and you end up getting grouped with teams that are around your skill level. So it's more fun and fair for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, it really does sound fantastic. And, it sounds like as well as the support and service you're providing for people who are homeless, it's a great way to break down barriers, socioeconomic barriers, and also, kind of cultural barriers too. People from different languages, different, backgrounds. It's just sounds like a great event and a great thing that you guys are doing.
Yeah, it can be super isolating to be homeless or be in a rehab program or to be a refugee. We had one player who walked here from Honduras by herself as a 14-year-old for 6 weeks to reach the United States, and has been living with various foster families and has found a home here in Sacramento. But it's like, when you hear stories like that, it also puts things into perspective for us. It's like, how can we complain about a little bit of stress at work or, an argument with a girlfriend or something? It's like, what do we have to complain about? And so I always tell people that, as much as the players get out of this event and being with street soccer, us coaches and organizers get just as much, and our volunteers and our people who come experience the event. I think you can take away a lot from being involved in the program.
And Reed, just for me, I'd say, so obviously one of your success, I guess, metrics in this is for you to get people to get through the program and maybe find a stable stable life. But what about your organization? Are you looking to grow into different cities and become more prominent? Is that a goal?
Yeah, we're always looking to grow our capacity. And of course, COVID, like every other organization, kind of hampered and slowed our progress a little bit because we weren't allowed into a lot of shelters and centers during COVID. But now that things are open back up, we're growing, and our city programs populations are growing, and we're always looking to expand into new cities. It's mainly just a question of where do we have the support and where can we fundraise enough to run a sustainable program somewhere.
Gotcha.
That's great. Now, Reed, I know I saw online, as the week went on, a lot of things on social media and things like that, where, there were some big names. Hope Solo was involved. Some other people were involved. Some pretty popular sports and celebrity people. Is there anything out there for people that may watch this or learn more about, the Homeless World Cup or even Street Soccer USA? Is there anything you could pass along to them if they were wanting to get involved in their community, or is there anything they could do?
Yeah, well, definitely check us out on our socials and just DM us. We're really open and easy to talk to at Street Soccer USA. And then,
you're talking to us, so.
There's a really good documentary called Kicking It, which is narrated by Colin Farrell, who's been a big supporter of the Homeless World Cup. And so that's what I first watched and got me actually interested in the idea of it. And that was back in, I think, 2010 that came out. And that's available to stream on all platforms. So I recommend checking that out. And then the other one to keep an eye out for is called The Beautiful Game, which is a Netflix production. It's not a documentary, but it's a film based on the Homeless World Cup. And a lot of our former players here in the U.S. went over and filmed. It was filmed in Rome. And so they used about 40 former players from the Homeless World Cup as extras who are representing the teams and playing against the real actors who in the film are Team England. And it sort of follows. And it's really, we got to see a screening of it. It's not out yet, but it will be out soon. It's going to be called The Beautiful Game. And we saw a screening of it, and I was really impressed how they were able to depict sort of the diverse characters that you can find in this tournament. And there's a humorous element, but obviously also really heartwarming. And so keep an eye out for that. That'll be out in the next couple months, hopefully.
And that's called A Beautiful Game.
Yep. And that'll be on Netflix.
Interesting.
That's fantastic, man. That's great. Well, Reed, we really appreciate you taking the time to join us this week. We really appreciate, everything you've done. Obviously, can't even imagine how many, people you've helped along the way. Ryan and I obviously coach a lot and try to help kids and those things, but nothing at all quite like what you guys are doing. So it's just a great event. We're really proud or excited to just, learn more about it and hopefully get the word out to more people about it. And, just thanks for taking the time to be with us today, and hopefully keep in touch and keep doing all the great stuff you've been doing.
Thank you guys for covering it. Really appreciate it, guys.
Visit our new partners, UnoZero at unozero.com, where classic beauty and quality meet modern design and elegance for football boots and more. Join our official partners at Dutig Brand FC, where they create quality products to make your lives easier as coaches. Visit our partners at TractionSocks.com for performance grip socks created for all athletes,